Well, good morning, everybody. Oh, so many people, pretty amazing. Yeah. So, uh, good morning. It's really a pleasure to be here at Hacktivity. I must admit that this is my first time here, but as far it's very good. I really like it. So let me introduce myself. My name is Eszteri, and I came from the Budapest Police Headquarters, special unit, Cybercrime unit that is appointed to deal with cybercrime cases and investigate cybercrime stuff. So, I'm not alone here. Here's my colleague too, Mr. Gábor Molnár. Say hello to Mr. Molnár. And he didn't want it to be at the stage with me, so I will be the one who will speak, and he's at the roles and monitors suspicious activity. Haha. Okay, it was just only a bad joke. So what am I going to talk about? We have a new criminal code in force in Hungary since the 1st of July, and so it's really a hot topic now. I will talk about the legal regulation in this new criminal code, and generally what type of crimes can be committed in the cyberspace who are criminalized by the law, and this new criminal code too. I will show you some cases from the practice of the police, and at the end of the presentation, on the last 3 or 4 slides, I will introduce you some forensic techniques what are commonly used by the police by investigations and house search and so on. So, basically, I will start with a partition of cyber crimes that can be committed in cyberspace. Well, these are my partitions, so if you have different opinion, they are totally welcome. The first possible partitions differs between 3 different classes. It's merely about a historical typology, in history, how the crimes evolved. The first is classic cyber crimes, the second is, what a surprise, modern cyber crimes, and the third is virtual crimes, which is really a new phenomenon and has to deal with crimes that are actually committed in online virtual worlds, online games. So this is my personal resource topic as a PhD student, so this is my favorite part. I will talk about them in the presentation, and I will follow this type of partition in the presentation. The second one differs between crimes that are committed in cyberspace according to what is the protected interest of the regulation in the criminal code. There are cyber crimes that are offending personal rights or interests. Think about that when somebody creates a fake profile on Facebook in the name of a real person without his or her permission and knowledge. Well, that can be a crime if it causes moral damage to the one in the name of this fake profile is created. That could be misuse of personal data according to the criminal code. There are cyber crimes that are offending property or intellectual property rights. Well, think about that when somebody sells non-existing things on eBay and you transmit the money for this criminal and you get, of course, nothing for your money, or sharing copyrighted material on the internet in some unlawful profit interest. Well, there are economy-related cyber crimes too. They are not really widespread. For example, organizing pyramid games on the internet. What are classic cyber crimes? So these type of cyber crimes can be only committed using computers or network. So actually the protected interest of the legal definitions is the safety and integrity of data managed in computer systems. Legislation had to create new definitions in national criminal codes for these abuses because they were so new that the legislation had to reflect them by creating unique and new definitions in criminal codes. There are international treaties too, like the Budapest Cybercrime Convention, which is actually signed in Budapest in 2001. And the signing states of this international treaty are obliged to harmonize their rules according to this international treaty to fight with cyber crimes. I brought a case study with myself from our practice that is actually a classic cyber crime, according to my opinion. Well, it was once that a Hungarian company operated, and I think operates till present days, on their Budapest-based servers, an online role-playing game. The administrators noticed an evening that suddenly their servers went offline. They also noticed that somebody illegally breached the data on the servers, copied everything from the servers of the company to his or her own computer, and then deleted every data on the servers. Then he posted the game users' account names and passwords to a website that is available to the public, the pastebin.com. On the website of the role-playing game, he posted a message, hacked and contact this email address, xyz@yahoo.com. The operator of the company wrote an email to the given address, and the hacker responded, "I continue to attack your servers until you won't pay me 5,000 euros in bitcoins." Well, yesterday you already heard about bitcoins. That's an anonymously used decentralized peer-to-peer currency on the internet. The company didn't pay the hacker, but they had to strengthen the servers, so after a few days, the attack stopped. The damage caused with the attacks was about 300,000 euros. It's about 90 million forints in Hungarian forints, because the cost of the repairing and installing the new defense to the servers and the cost of the stolen software source code. So this was a very big amount of damage to the company's property. This was how the website looked like after hacking. What is the legal background? Section 375 deals with a case. It's called fraud using wire information technology systems. And it states that any person who, for financial gains, that's very important, or advantage, alters, damages, or delays data stored, processed, or transmitted in the computer networks or system, or denies access to legitimate users. And it is very important to mention that it must be intentional, and it must be aimed for an unlawful financial gain or advantage. And somebody who commits this crime is guilty of felony punishable by imprisonment not to exceed 3 years. So in this case, the sentence would be imprisonment between 2 to 8 years, because in this case, this attack caused substantial damage. According to criminal law, substantial damage, the damage is substantial when it is between 50 million and 1 forints to 500 million forints. In this case, it was about 90 million forints. Well, there are, of course, other ways of breaching computer system and data that are actually not causing property damage and aren't aiming to an unlawful profit interest, like unauthorized logins to computer systems, and this way illegally reaching, modifying, or deleting data, and of course DDoS attacks, and breaching business, economic, or private rights. They have a legal background too. The section 423 deals with these cases in the Criminal Code of Hungary. It's called breaching information technology system or data, and is committed by any person who gains unauthorized entry to a computer system or network by compromising, defrauding the integrity of the computer protection system or device. It is important to highlight that it's only a crime when it is an unauthorized entry and it is made by compromising or defrauding the integrity of the computer protection. And is guilty of misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment not to exceed 2 years. So it's a lesser crime according to criminal law. Well, there are another type of crime. It's in section 422. It's called illicit possession of data. And actually, with IT cases, the point D deals, it's called any person who, for the illicit possession of private business or economic secret, so the aim is must be some private business or economic secret, captures correspondence forwarded by means of communication equipment or computer network to another person. The key word here is correspondence. So some mailing or a conversation between two different persons. So actually, this type of crime is only committed when somebody, for example, writes Trojan software malware that is made for recording Skype communication on the victim's computer, and then it forwards to the one who wants to reach this type of private secret. So it is exclusively deals with such things that are, by the way, only official persons of the government or police could do. So hearing, recording telephone lines. When it is made by an unauthorized person, then it is a crime, and it is called illicit possession of data. For example, when a company has a website and there are documents on the website, and the company didn't pay attention to these documents, and there are economic secrets of them, but they are freely downloadable from the company's website. Downloading such documents is not a crime, of course. Well, writing and spreading malicious software, so virus cases, the criminal liability of virus writers is also criminalized by the criminal code. Think about breaking Trojans or ransomware viruses. We had a very interesting case. It is caused by a ransomware virus. This type of Trojan spreads to infected websites. And when a victim clicks on an infected website that is downloaded to his or her computer, and a screen blocks for proper use, and it says that actually the police has blocked the computer because there are illegal data on the hard drive, like copyrighted material, child pornography, or terrorism-related material. Of course, it's not true, it's a fraud. The police doesn't do such things, but because there are a lot of people who are actually shocked, and they are given the option to pay €100 or I think 25,000 forints fine on a Ucash voucher to get control back on their computers. And of course, these codes that can be used for various shopping websites to shop on the internet are sent to the writer of this malicious software. Well, this is how the window looked like, and it is very interesting that according to the source code of the software, it communicates with a command and control server. And first, it examines the IP address of the victim, and when the victim resides in a country, then it chooses the right language to show. So if you are in Hungary and your IP address shows to the virus that you are using the web from Hungary, then with the logo of the Hungarian police, the message is shown. When you are from the United States, then the Federal Bureau of Investigations logo is shown, and it's of course in English. In Hungarian, it is in Hungarian. But it is very widespread in the whole world. So yes, I already said that the virus sends the given Ucash codes to this server, and they can be anonymous to various websites for shopping. What is the legal background? It is in the section 424 of the criminal code, and it's called compromising or defrauding the information technology systems protection. And the criminal liabilities of virus programmers only stands if they are making these softwares for criminal activities, for committing crimes defined in sections 375. So fraud via information technology system, or 323 breaching information technology system or data. Well, let's switch to modern cybercrimes. They are modern cybercrimes, in my opinion, because they are not necessarily require IT environment, but due to their nature, they occur in most cases in the digital world. Why? Because these abuses often affect such data that can be digitalized. The protected interest here is not just the integrity and safety of the data stored in computer systems. So legislations did not have to create new definitions for modern cybercrimes, but only modernize some old ones. What are typical modern cybercrimes? It's like child pornography, infringement of copyrights, or misuse of personal data, fraud, or even credit card abuses. The most common modern cybercrime, sadly, is child pornography. It's regulated, of course, under Hungary Criminal Code in Section 204. The typical criminal conduct is sharing pornographic pictures and videos of children on computer networks. Well, there is a very significant collaboration against child pornography in recent years, so the results that such websites are being immediately shut down by hosting providers, if you know that they are hosting such materials. So, but the result is, of course, that these pedophile networks are moving into the deep web. The deep web are the areas of the internet that cannot be reached by simple search engine and browsers. Think about the Tor network, for example. Another typical modern cybercrime is identity theft. It is committed by personal data on the internet. I already mentioned the fake Facebook accounts. The goal of these are cyberbullying. It is making a bad reputation among mutual friends on social networks. I brought a case study with myself too. It happened that the managing director of a big Hungarian company received once an email with files from his personal company computer and naked pictures of his girlfriend. And these photos of his girlfriend were posted to several ad sites with such tag that if she would offer sexual services. The pictures weren't uploaded to any other public site before. Later, the abuser created numerous accounts on Facebook in the name of the managing director and his girlfriend and posted intimate photos about them. And then the abuser sent the links of the intimate photos to every worker of the company. Wow, poor lad. What is the legal background? Misuse of personal data is defined under 219th section of the Criminal Code. And it says that any person who, in violation of the statutory provisions governing the protection and processing of personal data, and in this case, point A, is engaged in an unauthorized and inappropriate processing of personal data. In this case, personal data, it is defined in another act, Act 112 of 2011, could be pictures taken of a certain person if a certain person can be identified on these pictures, the name, addresses of a certain person, and so on. And well, misuse of personal data is only a crime when somebody who processes the personal data is unauthorized to do it and inflicts significant injury, so serious moral harm to the victim of a crime, or makes it or their actions aimed at an unlawful profit interest. Okay, these were the modern cyber crimes. Let's switch to virtual crimes. This is a new type of crime within online communities, especially in massively multiplayer online role-playing games. On the one hand, these crimes can be only committed using computers, so they are a bit similar to classic cyber crimes, but legislation did not need new definitions. So on the other hand, they are a bit similar to modern cyber crimes. The crime is uninterpretable outside the virtual community. For example, there's a game, it's very, very common, World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft, the players could form guilds. They have a common chat. And put the case that there's a master of the guild, and he has a rival in the guild, and the master of the guild posts a message on one day to the guild chat that this player is stealing something from the guild bank. Well, if it turns out that it's not true, it could be a defamation according to criminal law. But of course, only the players of World of Warcraft can understand why it is a defamation. So it could be pretty serious. Yeah, partition of virtual crimes. The first one are crimes offending personal rights. It's quite widespread among virtual communities, like harassment, as I already mentioned, defamation, or even constraint. The second type is are crimes offending virtual property. It is relatively frequent too, and I brought some interesting cases with myself according to such crimes. Think about virtual currency fraud or virtual property theft. There are economy-related virtual crimes too, but they are very rare nowadays. It's like money laundering with virtual goods too. I only met just one example for economy-related virtual crimes, but I think in the future they would become significant. And of course there are abuses outside criminal liability. We are quite widespread. We can call them griefing. It's like corpse camping, flooding, kill stealing. So they are actually part of the game, but there are some people who doesn't like them. There was a very famous case according to virtual property theft, the Legends of Mir 3. It happened once that a Chinese player who played this online virtual game, Legends of Mir 3, named Zhu Kaiyun, logged into his friend's player account in the game. His friend was named Kui Chengwei. They are really close friends in life, and they are shared the password and the username with each other, so they could play with the characters of the other one. So Kui had a very rare and valuable magical sword, a virtual item by his avatar. His friend logged into Kui's account and sold the magical sword on eBay to another player for real money, actually for $1,000. Well, then Kui went to the police and said that actually his friend stole his magical sword. The police said that according to Chinese civil law, it's not a crime because the objects of theft can only be things, property, and according to Chinese civil law, virtual items are not things. So there is no regulation for property in virtual items, so it is not a crime. Then Kui was so angry that actually he went to his friend Zhu and stabbed him to death, so killed his friend in real life. So he would receive a capital punishment, so a death sentence, but he turned himself on the police, so he only received imprisonment for life. So what is the conclusion? When there is no regulation according to law, then violence could shift into real life. And this is very serious. And I can tell you that there is no such country in the world that regulates virtual property today. Economy-related virtual crimes, I already said that they are quite rare. I read in an FBI report about one. It was that an online organized crime group changed their crime-related money to an online game's virtual currency. They bought several items on the marketplace of the online game from other players. They sold these items for other players for clean money on online marketplaces like eBay. So it was a clever form of money laundering. They made money from cyber crimes, so I don't know what kind of, and then for money laundering, they brought some items on a virtual market and sold them to other players for clean money on eBay. There's a very famous economist in the United States, Edward Castronova, and He's the one who said first, according to the game EverQuest, that virtual worlds simulate virtual economies. And these virtual economies actually can affect real-life economy. Think about the real money auction house in Diablo 3. It is a feature built into the game, and the players can buy virtual items for real money, United States dollars and euros. And actually, it's legalized by the developer of the game itself. So the conclusion is that virtual items value real money. Well, I have to mention that stealing virtual property when it's part of the game, it could be not a crime according to criminal law. There's a very famous story about another online virtual world, Ultima Online. I think it was the first massively multiplayer online role-playing game. And the developer of the game, a guy, had an avatar too in the game. He's called himself Lord British, and everyone who played the game knows that Lord British is the developer of the game. When he one day logged into a game with his avatar, Lord British, he got a message from a player that a thief has stolen me from my virtual property, and he named the thief. But it was a feature of the game to train thieves as a character and steal from other players. So Lord British went to the thief and said, according to the game rules, this is a crime, so you should give back the original owner the virtual property. Then the thief said, well, according to the game rules, it is allowed for me, because you are the one who designed the game. You wrote the laws of the game, and you allowed me to train my thief and steal virtual property from other players. So, according to a very famous property lawyer of Stanford University, I don't really remember his name, and said that the code is the law of cyberspace. And in this case, it stands because when the code allows you to do something that is actually part of the game, so part of the cyberspace that cannot be classified as legally harmful. And what do you think? What Lord British said to this? He said, "You are right. Go away." Well, the last part of the presentation is about investigating techniques which are used by the police in cases. It is called digital forensics. It comes from an ancient Roman road term, forensis, and it means that showing evidences to the public in front of the court. The goal of forensics is actually collecting evidences based on a scientific background. Digital forensics, of course, and collecting digital evidences based on a scientific background. So it is very important to mention that digital evidences occur not just in cybercrime cases. Well, think about that there is a murder case and the police makes a house search by the murderer. And often they seize the computer because there could be notes, evidences, former website visits that could be very useful for the investigations. What kind of tools the police has? Of course, hardwares and softwares. Well, hardwares are special copying tools. By a house search, the police can copy the data of hard drives, pen drives, and other storage devices, and they can make an official digital copy about it. Of course, for the copying, the computer must be shut down, and the storage has to be outtaken from the hardware. Then the storage device has to be mounted to this special copying device. If the storage capacity is too big, then it could be seized for further examination. And what happens when the evidence can be found not on classic storage devices? Think about boot sector viruses in the random access memory or in the BIOS. Then there are special softwares, and for further examination, the computer must be seized. And of course, when the examination is over and there is no evidence on it, then it must be given back to the one who suffers the house search. This is how a special copying tool looks like, what we are using too during the investigations. This device is a special copying tool that makes an authentication key, a hash algorithm about seized data during copyings. So this hash algorithm shows that it is an official copy, and it is a verified copy that can be used during the investigation for official trials. And there are, of course, softwares next to hardwares. We use a forensic toolkit. It's commonly abbreviated to FTK. This software can examine the seized data in details. It can restore deleted or damaged data depending on the delete type, and type of damage. When there's a hard drive that is used very often, so every day, then it is more difficult to restore the data that was deleted months or even half a year ago. But when it's not used very often, then it's more easier. This software makes an authentication key of the data on the seized device too, and that's why it is an official and verified copy. And of course, after the software examines the seized data, then the expert can search data for relevant informations with keywords, like when it is important according to keys to search for photos, then you can type in the name of the photo, or actually just list every photo on of the examined data, or can, of course, view former web page visits in installed browsers, the settings in softwares, and so on. So that was my presentation about the cybercrimes, the legal definition of cybercrimes, and what kind of crimes committed in cyberspace. Thank you for your attention. If you would have any questions, then you can ask it for me or even my colleague. Well, the program states that I'm a forensic expert, but actually it's not true because I have a degree in law. So, you know, I'm the guy who talks too much, and after you are getting killed by boredom at the end of the presentation. And with forensic stuff, my colleague is more, he knows more about it because he's an IT expert. But if you would have any questions, then they are totally welcome. So thank you for your attention once again.